Internal marketing is always hard, but it's especially hard for you. And it's especially hard for you because you are selling something that is the hardest thing in the world to sell: service. You know what makes service hard to sell? It's intangible. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it. Service doesn't even exist until the moment it's provided. So how do you sell something that doesn't exist? Hard products are easy. I can take one off the shelf in inventory, show you exactly what you're going to get, let you sample it. Service, it's a different deal. And to demonstrate just how hard it is, let's do a quick little challenge. Just take 30 seconds. I want you to describe for me, without the use of brand names, I want you to describe for me the world's best tasting chocolate ice cream. Delicious, creamy, rich, very yummy, smoking good. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, and it's hard to find some way of describing it that hasn't been used a million times before. Now you understand why so much food marketing is what we call bite and smile. You know, bite it, look into the camera, smile, show that you're enjoying the taste, because you're trying to make something intangible tangible. By contrast, you know, how do we show somebody that a Timex takes a licking and keeps on ticking? Well, I strap it to an outboard motor, I run it around the lake, and I show you that the watch still goes. Bic pens, I put it in the barrel of a rifle, shoot it through a piece of wood, and show you that it still writes. The power of product demonstration. How do I do that with a service? Service doesn't exist, it's intangible. It's inseparable. The act of consumption and production are one and the same. And because of that, it's highly variable in quality, isn't it? I mean, not only does it require good people that are well trained, but they got to be in a good mood that day. You know, they can't be feeling tired. They can't be coming down with a bug. All of these things can cause an otherwise great service provider to provide not so great service. And how do you manage that? And the answer is, of course, you really can't. You can go ahead and hire more expensive people, but that's highly perishable, isn't it? As the old joke goes, how much would you pay for a seat on a plane that just took off? How much value is there to the time of a service provider when they're not providing service? It is for this reason that people have developed something they call the 5-step service profit chain. It goes this way. Profits grow from satisfied customers. They're satisfied because they received great value. They got great value because they dealt with satisfied and loyal employees. And the employees were satisfied and loyal because they got the right training, the right coaching, and the right support. It's a nice kind of logical flow to it, isn't there? But if you think about it, what that really says is one of the most important, if not the most important contact that your business has with your customer is the service person. Do you know who Tom Peters is? Tom Peters is the consultant, guru, author. He wrote the book, or co-wrote the book, In Search of Excellence, A Passion for Excellence, and so on. Peters has a great line. I'm not normally a huge Tom Peters fan, but every once in a while he says something that captures the essence of the world so perfectly. And he said in one of his sessions, he said, in service organizations, show me the person that spends the most face time with the customer and therefore has the single greatest impact on customer satisfaction and repeat rates. Show me that person. And in most organizations, I will show you the person that sits on the lowest level of the corporate totem pole. Think about it. Who influences your satisfaction with your bank more? The president on Bay Street in Toronto, or the customer service rep that cannot seem to see you even though you're standing at the counter for 5 minutes? Is it the president or general manager of the phone company? Or is it the telephone installer who can barely tell you the day of the week they'll show up, let alone the time? You know, and then when they do show up, they traipse mud all across your broadloom because they don't take their shoes off or they wipe their feet. And you start to understand It's a very unique setting, isn't it? In which the least paid, least important in terms of official position person in the organization has the single greatest outcome on whether or not our efforts are seen and therefore rewarded. But we see it every day. And what that means is this. So far tonight, we've spent a lot of time talking about you, your company, and what it needs to communicate to its customers, what we would call the external marketing. And it's for very good reason, of course. If you don't have the right external marketing, nobody shows up, and then it really doesn't matter what your staff does, right? Because they're doing it for no one. But in great businesses, especially great service businesses, what we discover is this. If all you're doing is external marketing, if you're not spending at least as much effort saying to your employees, here is the promise that we're making to our customers, here is the promise that you will be held accountable, then how can we expect our employees, no matter how hardworking, no matter how well-intentioned, how can we expect them to know what needs to be done or how it needs to be done in order to deliver to that customer the experience that they were expecting in the first place? If marketing makes a promise, we have to let our employees understand what is that promise that's being made. And we also need to be able to tell them, and how will customers know whether or not we're making the promise? You look at a business like Four Seasons Hotels, famous Canadian business, famous brand, and of course not an inexpensive brand. And most of us, I'm sure, have heard at some point in time in our life about the fact that the staff at Four Seasons walk around with a little card. And on the card are certain rules that they have to follow. Rules that aren't really complicated. It's something as simple as you never see a customer in a corridor without acknowledging their presence. Good morning. Nod of the head. Something that says to that customer you are a real live entity, that you are a person, not a number, not a statistic, and so on. These are not hard things to do. The same question could be asked, though, if we think about that emotion, go back to that Disney rule. If we know the problem we're trying to solve for our customer, and we know the emotion that we want the customer to feel, are we now turning to our staff and are we helping them create that emotion? Or are we leaving it to their own devices? Make the customer feel at home? What does that mean? Do we talk to them about the kids while the lineup is going on behind them? Is there some modicum of service, some bare modicum of service that we suggest they provide? Do we give them guidelines about how to change that service through the course of the day? These things are so important because if we don't manage them, then we let the lowest paid level of our staff essentially manage our service delivery and manage the quality of our marketing effort. So to close this off then, let me say this. We start tonight by talking about the fact that marketing is not just about volume. Marketing is about justifying our margins. Marketing is about making certain that each piece of volume that we service is delivering profits to the bottom line. Because if it's not doing that, then I hope we're charity. Otherwise, we're going to go out of business. To make that possible, we have to back up our marketing process with systems. Systems that deliver not just some vague notion of quality, but systems that deliver the right kinds of quality. They deliver it to the right kinds of customers, and they deliver it to them in the most cost-efficient, highly productive manner possible. Behind every brand is a great business model. Behind every great business model is, of course, a great leader, a great owner. If you think about just those things, you will understand the fundamentals of how marketing can lead you to higher levels of profit. Remember, head, heart, and hand. You now have it in your head. Hopefully, you've developed it in your heart. Now we just get the hands involved in a simple act of execution. The execution of the margin-sucking maggots.